Welcome back to Bad Things in History, where we're taking you back to a time when MTV actually seemed interesting. The 1980s were a fun time. At least that's what nostalgic accounts of the decade would have you believe. The truth is that many people were too busy dying to care about MTV. In this episode, we will look at some of the worst parts of 1982. Death was everywhere. Let's start with something less tragic. How about the first personal computer virus? Elk Cloner. The first computer virus was created in 1971. It was called the Creeper virus. When its code was executed, it would put the following message on the screen. "I'm the Creeper, catch me if you can." The virus spread through ARPANET, the predecessor of today's modern internet. The malicious code only affected large computers in universities and government facilities. However, by the 1980s, personal computers could be found in homes worldwide. In 1982, the Apple II series was one of the more popular choices, and it would also become a victim of the first personal computer virus. Rich Skrenta was born in Pittsburg, Pennsylvania on June 6, 1967. In 1982, he was a 15-year-old high school student, and he decided to write a harmless, self-replicating program. This became known as Elk Cloner. The virus would replicate onto disks on the Apple operating system. Usually, it copied its code onto games. The 50th time the game was executed, it would display a screen to the user that contained the following poem. Elk Cloner, the program with a personality. It will get on all your disks. It will infiltrate your chips. Yes, it's Cloner. It will stick to you like glue. It will modify RAM too. Send in the Cloner. Other than showing the message, the virus was harmless. However, Rich's approach to creating Elk Cloner would be used to create far more destructive computer viruses. Today, businesses in the United States spend around $55 billion a year trying to deal with the damage caused by them. Ocean Ranger. During the 1980s, attempts were made to access oil reserves within Canada's territory. By 1982, several areas were marked for exploration. The crew of Ocean Ranger was tasked with drilling at these locations to determine if oil was present. Their vessel consisted of a platform above the water while the rest of the craft was below the surface. Thanks to this design, it was used as a portable drilling platform. The Ocean Ranger was also able to withstand violent weather conditions. Supposedly, waves up to 110 feet tall could not damage the vehicle. Despite being engineered to withstand the ocean's wrath, the drilling platform was not invincible. On February 14, 1982, the Ocean Ranger was busy drilling off the coast of Newfoundland. The crew received a weather alert that said a large storm was approaching. It arrived so quickly that the crew didn't have time to disconnect the drilling pipes correctly. Around 7 p.m., a large rogue wave hit the drilling platform. It broke a window 28 feet above the water's surface. Since the waves were reaching heights of 68 feet, this meant water started pouring into Ocean Ranger. The crew continued trying to fix the damage throughout the night, but around 1 a.m. on February 15th, the Ocean Ranger sent out a mayday call. The message said the platform was listing to one side and they needed help immediately. Ships were sent to help along with helicopters, but just 30 minutes after sending their mayday message, the Ocean Ranger sent one last transmission. There will be no further radio communications from Ocean Ranger. We are going to lifeboat stations. When the sun came up in the morning, Ocean Ranger was gone. 84 workers were dead. Most of the victims drowned or froze to death before help could arrive. Killing the Pope. On May 13, 1981, an assassin attempted to kill Pope John Paul II. The Pope survived but would face danger again just 1 year later. Juan Maria Fernandez was born in Madrid, Spain in 1948. At 17, he began studying economics at the University of Madrid. He learned about financial instruments, and he also developed strong anti-communist sentiments. Juan decided that he wanted to become a Catholic priest. In 1978, he was officially ordained into the priesthood, but in 1982, he was expelled for being mentally unstable. This experience led Juan to join a group that believed Pope John Paul II was a fraud. Juan decided the Pope shouldn't be in charge of the Catholic Church. On May 12, 1982, the Pope was in Portugal. He was taking part in a pilgrimage to thank God for sparing him during the previous assassination attempt. Juan emerged from the crowd, walked behind the Pope, then stabbed him with a bayonet. The Pope was injured but survived. He chose to bless his attacker. Meanwhile, the police arrested Juan. When standing trial for his crime, Juan said he tried to kill Pope John Paul II because the church leader was in league with the Soviet Union. The Pope was a communist spy. The court disagreed and sentenced Juan to 7 years in prison, but he would continue being a disruptive figure. In 1996, he was arrested for arson in Brussels. He was found not guilty of that offense. But in 2000, he attempted to break through security to assault the kings of Spain and Belgium. He spent 4 months in jail for that offense. Pan Am Flight 759. There were numerous plane crashes in 1982. One of them was the most deadly aviation accident of the year. Pan Am Flight 759 was a Boeing 727, originally delivered to the airline in 1968. It was used to fly a domestic route across the United States. The plane would start in Miami, then travel to New Orleans. Next, the airplane would stop in Las Vegas. Finally, it would land in San Diego before following the route in reverse. On the afternoon of July 9, 1982, Flight 759 was at the New Orleans International Airport. The weather report said there would be storms and strong winds off the coast of Louisiana later that day, but there wasn't an immediate danger to the aircraft. The pilots received clearance and took off from the runway, but they didn't travel far. The airplane climbed to an altitude of 125 feet, then began descending. At roughly 50 feet above the ground, the Boeing 727 began slamming into the tops of trees. It finally stopped when it plowed into several houses. All 145 people in the airplane and 4 people on the ground were killed. Everything around the shattered aircraft burst into flames. It wasn't all bad news. A baby in one of the destroyed houses survived the accident with minor burns. Debris fell on her crib, which protected the infant from being injured. Unfortunately, her mother and sister didn't survive. An investigation determined that a microburst was the most likely cause of the accident. A sudden strong wind pushed down on the airplane's wings, causing it to descend rapidly. Detection systems were installed on airplanes in 1993 to prevent similar accidents from happening again. Twilight Zone accident. Sometimes movies can make danger a reality. In the summer of 1982, filming began on Twilight Zone, the movie, based on the television show created by Rod Serling. The movie was directed by John Landis and produced by Steven Spielberg. On the night of July 28th, filming was in progress at a ranch called Indian Dunes. The crew was trying to finish a scene with actor Vic Morrow and 2 Vietnamese children, Renee and Micah. California labor laws didn't allow children to work at night, so John Landis supposedly paid them in cash and didn't bother asking authorities for a special waiver. He also didn't explain precisely what they would be doing to their parents. The scene was supposed to take place in a village in Vietnam. Vic Morrow was instructed to pick up the children and carry them out of the village and across a river, and a helicopter would be chasing him as he ran. During filming, mortar explosions were added to the scene. Devices started exploding all around the river as Vic ran with the children. The helicopter followed just a few feet above them. One of the mortars hit the rotor blades of the helicopter. It spun out of control and crashed into the river. The blades decapitated Vic Morrow and Micah. Renee was crushed to death. John Landis and several film crew members faced a decade of civil and criminal trials for their roles in the accident. They were all found innocent of manslaughter. However, several witnesses testified that Landis kept telling the helicopter pilot to get lower, which might be why he was too close to the mortar when it exploded. The Federal Aviation Administration implemented new regulations to try and prevent similar accidents from happening again. Tylenol Murders. Sometimes horrible people do random and terrible things. On September 28, 1982, Mary Kellerman was a 12-year-old living in Chicago. She woke up with a headache, so she looked in the cabinet and found a bottle of extra-strength Tylenol. Mary took one of them, expecting to feel better soon. Instead, she started feeling worse. By September 29th, Mary was dead. Later that day, 6 more people died. They all had one thing in common. Every one of them had taken a Tylenol. It soon became clear that the deadly Tylenol was laced with cyanide. A press conference was called and authorities told the public not to take the medication. Additionally, the company that made Tylenol, Johnson & Johnson, issued a recall for all the pills in Chicago. It was one of the largest pharmaceutical recalls in history. Hundreds of people around the country were inspired to put their own poisons into Tylenol. In one case, in California, someone poisoned bottles of Tylenol with strychnine, a powerful pesticide. On October 5, 1982, Johnson & Johnson issued a nationwide recall. The company took possession of 31 million bottles of Tylenol. It cost Johnson & Johnson $100 million, worth around $281 million today. A man named James William Lewis soon came to the attention of authorities. He sent a letter to Johnson & Johnson demanding $1 million to stop the poisonings. After being arrested, he denied putting poison in Tylenol, but he did admit to writing the letter. James was convicted of extortion and sent to prison for 10 years. Investigators were convinced that James was the person who put cyanide into the Tylenol, but they could never prove it. Pharmaceutical manufacturers, including Johnson & Johnson, developed tamper-proof packaging after this event. Whether it was poison, storms, wind, or an angry person with a bayonet, 1982 was a dangerous time. But at least the music was good, right? Is there anything you would like to add to this collection of misery? If so, scroll to the comments below and tell us about an event you think we should have mentioned but didn't. And don't forget to subscribe. We wouldn't want you to miss out on learning about the next year in this series, and don't forget that we have a Patreon for generous viewers like you. Thank you for watching Bad Things in History.